Hello, good morning, welcome back to the Fish Locker out on the boat. I will immediately apologise for the croakiness of my voice. I was down at the Crouch Open down in Essex at the weekend and I think I have shaken one too many dirty hands and I've come away with a lurgy. So yes, hopefully the streps will sort me out today. We have absolutely beautiful conditions, small tides. I'm hoping to find some bait and fish on some wrecks. I also need to run in my new engine. So yeah, fingers crossed on that. Let's go. That's what I'm after. Yeah, a dozen more of them, I'll be laughing. There, I managed to have found a few nice mackerel, one solitary scad, and a very poor cod. So yeah, we have some bait. Off to the wrecks. It's one of them days today. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to try going over it with a little soft plastic. One of these. One of my little Skerries Pros. We haven't got an awful lot of tide today, so it's going to be hard to get a fish out on the lures. But I'll give it a crack anyway. Got to be in it to win it. Yeah, we are fishing in 70 metres of water. Fish like pollock, they don't generally feed as hard when the tide isn't running very hard. On slack tides like this, they don't generally feed too much. So you have to really work to get them on the lures. Fishing with shads over wrecks, you really need bigger tides. But I thought I would give it a try just in case. You never know, there might be a hungrier one down there. The water is really dirty in a minute, there's loads of particles in it. And it's all plankton. It's all because we're getting more sunshine now, the water temperature is going up. Just like the grass in your garden's growing more in the summer. Yeah, all the little bits of zooplankton, phytoplankton, all the little plants in the water are all growing. It just creates like a real big bloom. It usually starts in May. It started a little bit early this year. Not marked any fish on the sounder at all. Currently drifting at 0.3 knots as well. 1.3 would be a good speed. Oh, hello. Oh, hello. Oh, it might be a pollock. I actually hit that on the way down. I've got a really little lure with a really little hook. Whoa. So you have to really take it gentle. If the fish wants to dive back, let it dive back. Where are we? I don't even know where I am on the sound. Oh, there goes diving back. Oh, it's come off. How far away was I? I was only halfway up anyway. Yep. It is only a really little hook on a little lure. So that might have caught it just on like the corner of its lip. And every time it dove and dove, it's just pinged it off. It happens. I'll go around and try again. Swing and a miss. Try again. We've come over a slightly different part of the wreck this time and I'm having a lot more activity. Now, it is smaller fish. Might be scad, might be pouting. Just goes to show it's worth moving around a wreck. If a wreck's 50 metres long, they might all be on one end and you'd never see them if you only ever stay to the other. Yeah, I had another drift over that wreck and just had little pecks. So I've changed the wreck and I've changed the lure. Hopefully this wreck might have a bit more life on it. It is a glorious day, but I am I am struggling. When the tides are smaller, all the little fish, all the little pouting and whiting and things that live inside the wreck can come out the wreck and swim around it because there's not as much tide to contend with. When there's a big tide pumping through there, they all hide inside the wreck and stay out the current. The only issue now is trying to fish for a pollock over the top of the wreck. I'm just getting pecked to pieces by pouting. I can feel them because they just rag. Pollock, when it picks up your lure, it just picks it up and whacks straight for the seabed. A little pouting just goes. That's what's happening. That's a big fish, that. That is a big fish. Wonder what that is. I've got a 20-pound fluoro hook length and a little tiny lure, and I tell you what, this is probably going to be a decent sized ling. So the chances of landing it are almost non-existent. I'm going to have to nurse this up. Yeah. I'm off the wreck now. Yeah. It's certainly putting up a hell of a scrap. It's not more than about 10 metres off the seabed now. And straight back down again. I'm sorry I'm not talking a lot, but I am really having to concentrate. Yeah, this is feels like a big fish, this. If it's where I think it is on the sounder, we're in 70 metres of water and it's at 45. So I've got a long way to go. "20 metres. I can only think it's got to be a ling. It's a ling and it's a flipping big one. That is a very nice ling, that. Oh! My word. Oh! I tell you what, the gods were smiling on me on that one. Oh yes, oh yes. The fishing gods were smiling on me on this one. Look at that lure there. Oh, he's gassing up. One of my little Skerry's pros, but the smallest one, just hooked on a cord. Oh, a flipping big ling this as well. Oh. Well, I wanted a ling today. I've definitely got one. That is fantastic. I am absolutely flipping buzzing. Whew. I'll show you more of the rig now, but that was an absolute flipping miracle. I'm so lucky. Oh. Oh, and he's just spat. He's just spat a fish up. That's probably a pouting. Oh, I thought you'd be on it. I'm flipping over the moon with that. That was incredibly lucky for a couple of reasons. I mean, I wasn't fishing for ling with those lures. I was fishing for pollock, and because of that, when I'm fishing for ling, I use like 200-pound mono for their teeth. I'm using 20-pound fluoro. Also, one of the issues about fishing real small tides like this is your line very regularly gets tangled, and I don't know if you can see that. It is getting in a flipping massive tangle around the leader knot. That just happens that when you drop it down, because the tide's not keeping it out straight, it all coils up on itself. Yeah, I've got a flipping massive great knot there on my leader. Could have also been from that ling writhing around, but yeah, either way, that trace was very lucky not to snap. And then second, if you can see these teeth in here, like, they're gruesome. They're sharp as hell. He's got rows and rows and rows of them, like all over. The outside layer is like little tiny pins, and then inside it's just horrible. Like, that's the last thing a lot of fish ever see. And the hook has managed to catch you right in corner. I am flipping buzzing. Oh, well, yeah. I was hoping for pollock, but yeah, ultimately that is even better. Flipping great head on it. It's the same size as mine. On a fish locker, Skerry's Pro, the yellow one. And this is the smallest one they do as well. This is the smallest one we do, right on the corner. Right, I'm going to get this guy dispatched and blade and put in a barrel of water to cool down. There isn't very much on this wreck, but ling. So what I might do is I might put a wrecking rig on and I might go around and try and get another ling out. And then we'll try somewhere else for a pollock. Oh, could not have gone better. I didn't get over much time to explain to you what the rigs I was using. When I'm fishing for pollock, I'm using like a long length. I just have a little 3-way swivel that I clip onto a decent sized lead. And then I run, depending on the tide, if it's got a strong tide, I run generally like a longer length, maybe up to like 10 foot. And on a shorter tide, I've got 5 foot. And this is 20-pound float. You can see how kinked up it all is, like after all that knot. And with this was just one of the smaller Fish Locker Skerry's Pro lures in the yellow one colour. Now my ling fishing is slightly different. That rig is for fishing for fish that are above the wreck, like pollock and bass. I'm now going to be fishing for ling and conger, which are right inside the wreck. So everything needs to be bigger, cruder and stronger. Inside my little bag of tricks. Like I was saying as I was bringing it up, I generally, when I'm fishing for ling, it'll be 200 pound. Like, I might make the traces out of 150 or 100 and the hook lengths are all out of 200. Just because their teeth are so abrasive and they just rasp around on the way up that, yeah. I'll be using like 10 O's to 14 O's, not what's the equivalent of like a 1 O. Yeah. But sometimes you're lucky, aren't you? So, yeah. What I do is I have some pre-made up. There's one I made earlier. I will clip it all up, I'll talk you through the rig, and I'm going to flap her off on a mackerel that I caught earlier, and we're going to drift around the wreck. I'm going to try dancing around like the north side of it first, because there was a little bit more fish shown on that side. And all I'm going to do is you stay in good contact with the bottom, and you're waiting for like a really aggressive bite. There are a lot of pouting down there. I know there are a lot of pouting down there because I was getting knocks on the lures. So we're probably going to have to fish through some pouting. If they're too bad, what I might do is I might try and catch a pouting and then fillet that off and use some pouting. Because pouting don't eat pouting, but ling eat pouting. It'll make sense when I'm doing it. And ta-da! This is one I made earlier. Well, just made right now. Yeah, I put an 8-ounce lead on the bottom. We are drifting at 0.26 knots. We'll see how we do when we get on top of the wreck. And I have used Cox and Roll 10-0 meat hooks and a muppet. I like muppets because not only does it add a little bit of attraction, but also this muppet can sit on this mono here, and when the ling's teeth go on it, they bite the muppet, they don't bite the line. So it's added abrasion resistance. Yeah, I like using muppets. You have one on both ends of the rod. Right. There is one of the mackerel I caught earlier. I have just flapped it off. All I'm going to do is just put the big hook through the hardest part of its head. It's alright, it doesn't mind. And there we go. That is a killer ling rig. The rod that I'm using is a Penn Squall 2 Viking edition, and this is the 20-30. I got this to go to Norway. We're using it shadding for cod in Norway for the scray cod in winter. And this is a Finnor Marquesa 16, and I have 50-pound braid, and I have a 60-pound leader on here, I think. Maybe do with upping the leader. Now, as I've said it, I've thought actually I should have put 100 on. The reason the leader wants to be a little bit stronger is because it might come in contact with the wreck at some point. Yeah, made a mistake there. We'll see. Might work out okay. Drag's fine. We're down on the seabed. Rod's tight. Going up to the wreck. Yeah. Now all we have to do is hope for a fish. The bites you get off ling are good bites, like you know you've got a ling bite. Conger can be very, very subtle. Ling, not so much. And what I'm doing is, as we're drifting over the wreck. Oh, hello. You got it in your mouth? Yeah, got one. Right, the first 10 seconds and the first 10 feet are crucial, because you need to get it out of that wreck, because if it's going to jam you up, it certainly will. It lives in the roughest, snaggiest, horriblest parts of that wreck, and it knows where they are. So it's come out to have that bait, and as soon as it feels any pressure from you, it'll try and go straight back in again. So yeah, you need to, this is why you need a good stiff rod. No pun intended. I tell you what, I do love it when a plan comes together. Yeah, you. Oh, I can't donk it. You literally saw that from start to finish. You saw me hook the bait on, you drop it down, wait for the bite, felt the bite. Get it. Oh, you spat the hook. Yeah. Well, there you go. The hook was actually in this side of its mouth. The reason it spat the hook is because I took the weight off it. Right. The hook was in here. But there we go. You saw all of that from start to finish. That actually, that's a really nice size to take for a fillet, because you get good length on it. A bit of, anyone looking for puns and euphemisms, this is going to be, there's a good length on it and enough girth to get a good fillet off the loins. And also, sometimes I've found that the oldest ones, the biggest ones, the fattest ones are full of worms, whereas this one, you can see it's still a little bit motley. Yeah, this one's still not very old. Perfect. I will, just in 1 second, I will dispatch and bleed that fish. I do believe in the humane dispatch and bleeding of fish to get the best quality meat from them at the end of it. But yeah, that was perfect. That worked exactly as I designed. Now, ideally, for my family, for me and Hannah and James and Lizzie, and to give some to my father-in-law and my mother-in-law, I would like 3 ling, and then I might go for a couple of pollock. But yeah, it's absolutely perfect. Let's go. Right, let's try that again. I'm going to try and do it all exactly the same and see if it's going to happen twice. Again. Yeah, look, that's all it is. Slightly different part of the wreck. It's difficult to get the drift exactly the same every time. I just hope that I don't drop down straight into a snag, because that would be annoying. Like I say, I'm just tagging the bottom, just because I want it to be down there in the bottom, but if the wreck starts coming up, I need to get it up out of the way. Drifting at 0.12 knots now. This is exactly why you want these tiny tides for doing this. Because that wreck can be all the snaggiest bits of, like, no, it's a shipwreck. If you've got a strong pull of tide and you're pulling through it, the chances of you snagging up in that wreck when you're fishing like this are incredibly high. Whereas now, because I'm going really slow, I can drop up and down on top of that wreck and stand less of a chance of snagging up in it. Still a good chance of snagging up in it. I mean, I'm fishing in a shipwreck. But honestly, on a day like today, tiny tides, no wind, there is nothing that you could better be doing than fishing like this. Fishing at anchor maybe. Something down there small that's pulling on it. Give it a second. Ah, yeah, it's a pout. Ooh, that was a close one. That was in and out of the wreck then. Where's that fish? Oh, it's let it go. That was a fish that had hold of it. Now I might have lost my bait, but I'm almost off the back of the wreck now, so there's no point bringing it up to check, because if I haven't lost my bait, I've wasted it. Come on, take it. It's a nice bite. That's more like a pouting bite, because it's just like you're waiting for like a doom, 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 or it to get really light, which means it's picked up the bait and the weight and come up. Yeah, past the wreck now. I was glad to catch that fresh mackerel. I was glad to catch that fresh mackerel because we get mackerel a lot of the year down here. The only time we don't really is like May, June, and they're a little bit late coming back. So you can spend sometimes all day looking for half a dozen mackerel. Yeah, I found them relatively easy. And there's nothing better than fresh mackerel for this. Fresh bait for ling is top. This wreck isn't actually the one that I was intending on fishing for ling. That's about another 5 mile away. But when I had that ling on that lure, I thought I'm going to have to give it a go. It's only a really small wreck. It's about 25 metres. Broken away, it's smaller than that. It's broken up over a stretch of 25 metres. Some of them, one of them out here, is that big that if it was stood up straight, it'd be sticking out of the water by 20 metres. Oh, there's a good bite. You gonna take it out here? I think it's a pout. Snagged the wreck now as well. So I pulled it out of a fish's mouth and now I'm stuck in the wreck. It's a piece of net. There must be a piece of net stuck on this wreck because you can feel when you pull on it, if it's a piece of the wreckage, like if it's a piece of steel or something like that, it's solid, it's bound up. This here, when you lift, it comes for a little bit. Yeah, that's a piece of old net. That's unfortunate. Lot gone, lost a lot. One of the problems as well of using a lighter leader, because this has probably snapped on the leader. Let's go and try somewhere else. Yeah. Going back down with the shad. Give this a try. We'll see what we can find. Give it a drift like this and see what it's like when the lure. When I know how fast it's going and which direction it's going, I'll go down with a bait, if it's suitable. Some wrecks are just too snaggy. Oh, I got hits on the way down. Oh, it's still there. Oh, I doubled two bites of that cherry and it missed it both times. Some wrecks are just too snaggy, just by the way that their structure's laid. Like they can have a lot of scaffolding on them, have a lot of pieces, have a lot of nets on them. And other ones, if the hull is laid up nice, oh, there's a fish. And it's off. Yeah. Some of them, if they're laid over and their hull's nice, it's just like a real smooth wreck. Yeah. All the fish, we've come over the wreck now, we're drifting at 0.4 knots. Oh, there's a fish. Spoke too soon. Well, it's a pollock. Yeah. I was about to say, I said all the fish seem to be on the front of the wreck. Yeah, because we've just drifted off the back and I've just had this hit. With this, because I've got a little hook and a little lure, and because pollock are known for thrashing around and diving, there's no pumping and winding. Not like when I had the ling on with the ling rig, where I would lift and then wind and lift and wind. This is just a steady wind, because I've got a very supple rod that should take out some of the lunges. And also every time that you lift and you drop and you lift and you drop, you risk creating slack line. And if this lure isn't properly down its gullet, every time it thrashes and bangs its head, it opens up the hole where the hook is. And if you create any slack, the hook will just drop out. So yeah, just a very slow, steady wind like this is the best. You still lose some. Some fish just aren't meant to be caught. But you know, ideally what you want, when they're hungry, when they're feeding hard, they absolutely wallop it. It goes right down their throat. Also, taking your time like this. He's just seen daylight, that's his issue. He's just come up through all the plankton and he's first seen daylight. Another good thing about bringing them up slowly like this is that if you want to return them, you can. If you just winch them to the boat, their eyes are bulging out, their swim bladder's blown, their stomach's hanging out, they've got barotrauma. If you take your time like this, you can quite often let them go. There we go. It's not a monster, but it's big enough. That is a lovely sized pollock for a fillet. And there's the lure. I'm just going to deal with this swinging around lead. Not worse than a lead swinging about the place. Yep, right in the corner of the mouth, look. And if you can see the hole, what I was talking about, any slack, and that'd have been out. I might, if you hadn't been such a lunatic, I was going to say I might see if the sky will go back. I don't think you will now. There you go. I thought once it dropped and hit the deck, I cushioned it with my foot. Once it hit the deck, I thought, nah, he stunned himself. But yeah, all he had to do was just straight back, and he swum back by himself. We are in 79 metres of water, so that absolutely shows you that it works. Bring them up really gentle, really slow. You saw how slow I was being, and when you want to fight to go back, that allows them to equalise the pressure on the way up. All I do, just head first. That gives him a burst of oxygenated water over its gills, kickstarts him onto swimming, and he was back. Slightly bigger next time, if possible. Oh, that's a fish. That's a fish. Try and keep you out of the wreck if I can. Oh, that one wellied it. That one was not messing about. I've currently got it up about 10 metres above the wreck, but my issue is every time it dives, it runs a risk of taking me back in there and snapping me off. And it's a big fish, this. Currently this fish is it's around 40 metres. Yeah, it's a nice fish. Yeah, very nice fish. 30 metres. 32 metres. You see how I'm letting it, I'm not forcing it. When it wants to run back, letting it take a little bit of line, and then gaining a bit of line where I can, so that hook hold, if it's a really light one in its lip, it gives me a little bit more chance of holding onto it. Just a steady wind. So once you start dragging at it and trying to yank it up, it's when it starts, well, it starts breaking off. That is a nice pollock. Very nice pollock. I know why it was scrapping so hard now as well. Right. This is the pollock that I was after. That is a stunner. And he's actually, this guy has been in the wars before. I am going to keep this one. I'm going to dispatch him in a minute. But yeah, that's why he scrapped so hard, because the lure caught him in the eye. I'm sorry about that, mate. It's just, in fact, just his eyelid. Yeah. His eye's still intact. It was just in the eyelid. But yeah, if this hook had just caught like a little fraction of that skin there, every time he fights and bites and murals, it makes a bigger hole and it drops out. But yeah, this is a beauty of a pollock. And actually, he's been in the wars before. I don't know if you can see that scar down his side here. Yeah. Something big has had hold of him at some point in his life. Delicious. Perfect, delicious, and massive. Over the moon. Keep him in that live bait tank for a couple of 3 minutes, just to let him flush. He's just scrapped all the way at the boat. So he's tired, he's full of lactic acid. All of his muscles are full of lactic acid. I'll let him flush a bit of fresh water over him, then dispatch him. But yeah, that was just exactly as designed. There you go, look, a little three-way swivel onto the lead. Because we've got smaller tides, I have got 5.5, 6 foot. And the same yellow, the yellow one, Skerry's Pro. Yeah, that's had a ling and 2 pollock on it, and it's still perfect. Brilliant! Get one more pollock that size, I will be absolutely laughing. And then I will have one drift to try and see if I can get a ling. I'm not sure, this wreck isn't usually like a lingy wreck, it's quite structured, quite snaggy. We'll see what the drift's doing, because the tide actually, I've I got to the wrecks just as the tide was finishing. Now the tide, when it's running between high tide and low tide, doesn't run all at the same speed. The middle of the tide, the middle few hours of the tide, is when it runs its fastest. The last of the tide and the start of the tide is when it's at its weakest. So when I first got to the wrecks, it was running slack, and then the tide was running slow, and then it wasn't running at all because it was slack tide. Now that the tide's starting to pick up, we're drifting at 0.5, 0.7. Yeah, we're drifting maybe a little tiny bit fast to be doing the ling fishing. Oh, there's a fish. Oh, hello. Oh. Oh, I must have banged that one on the head. It's a lovely fish. Yep, he walloped it. There was no way he was spitting that out. That was locked right into his jaw. Try and show you. Right at the corner of his mouth. That is stunning. I have exactly what I wanted. I have two beautiful eating sized pollock and two ling. Right. You see that? Did you see that fly out then? That was exactly what I was talking about them creating like a little bit of a gap in their mouth and then thrashing about and spitting a hook. So that hook was there, look. That was in there. And by thrashing side to side, they create the hole and then spit the hook. So yeah. Another one for the yellow and another one for the table. I have all the pollock I need. I'll give it one try for a ling and then we might go and throw some lures around and see if we can't find a bass. Winner. Winner, winner, pollock for dinner. Still absolutely perfect. Today's dinner, I've stolen James's lunchbox. Not his actual packed lunch. He did get a packed lunch for school. I've just stolen his box. It is chicken cob salad. While we were away in the States, I did eat very, very well, and I've come back a little bit heavier than I went out. So yeah, healthy it is. I've come inshore now just to try and do a little bit of fishing over a reef, and like where I was beautiful and sunny. As I was steering into it, I was like, this does not look good. Yeah, it's just like a sheer wall of clouds. Yeah, so yeah, it's a different day inshore. There's a lot of feed around though. I mean, look at that. That's all one shoal of mackerel. So yeah, I wish I'd come here this morning. I'll chuck a lure around, see if I can't get a bass or a pollock. Then what I'm going to do is stick the anchor down somewhere shallow and we'll fillet all them fish. Let's get them fish filleted before it starts raining. I've put the hook down, and before it starts to absolutely tip it down with rain, I am going to fillet these fish. Now, that one is an absolute beauty. I would normally, you can see how the colours drop straight out of them because I bled them. Yeah. I would gut those at sea and discard the guts, but all of this, the guts, the skin, the carcasses, it's all going to go back in my lobster pots. So I'm keeping hold of it all. I'm keeping hold of all the guts, all the liver, all the skin, all the skeletons, all the skulls. Yeah, that's all going to bait my lobster pots. I'll get those filleted off, then we'll see where we are. Hopefully this rain holds off. That's all full of bile. That's its liver there, this big white bit. Don't know if you can see how many worms are in it. This is one of the reasons why I made this table, because one chopping board just is not enough for these ling. Here is the ling loin. That's like a back strap down the centre of there. That is brilliant for cutting into steaks or chunks. Ling are incredibly tough, and I didn't bring my sharpening steel, so by the time that I've got to the last one, this knife couldn't cut butter. But yeah, there we go, there's another one. There's absolutely nought left on that. Oof. I have finally finished. Yeah, there we have the pollock, filleted and V-boned, and there's all the ling. Tell you what, those ling loins, yeah, brilliant. And I have my lobster bait. Now, there is next to nought left on them, but hopefully what is left will catch me a lobster. I'm going to go and drop some of that round to Grandad Jim's. The rest of it I'm going to take home. I'm going to cook some tonight, and the rest of it I'm going to freeze for later on in the week. I hope you enjoyed joining us. I hope you found it interesting. All the very best. See you later. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to check out the Fish Locker YouTube channel, where we have hundreds of videos from our adventures just like this one. We upload new videos every Sunday evening, so don't forget to click subscribe, and we'll see you on the next one. Let's go.